and the Son, and the Spirit. Amen. Good morning.
Good morning, Father.
Good to see everyone here today. More trickling in. I brought today my sermon bag, something pretty familiar to all of us. What is it? What is this? A pig. Now, I don't think it's a specific pig like we have Peppa Pig, my granddaughter loves, but it's just a regular old pink pig. And what do we get from the pig? Pork, right? We like to eat pork, sausage and bacon and ribs, right? All those good things to eat. Yum. But unfortunately, for the Jews, the Lord said that you can't eat pork. It is unclean, and there's other foods that are unclean which they were forbidden to eat. Now, I know a lot of Jewish friends, and they still eat bacon. You know? Anyway, some are very strict and don't follow the rules, but others don't have a problem with eating pork anyway. But you know, just like we have a lot of people who are supposed to be baptized Orthodox and they don't follow the fasting at all. But anyway, God bless them. So today we heard about some pigs that were in the gospel lesson because it was in the country of the Gadarenes that they were raising pigs. Now some scholars say that it could have been the Gentile people who lived in the area who were raising pigs because they were allowed to eat pork, right? Only the Jews shouldn't do that, told by God. But I think it was Jews. And so they were not following what God had told them. So because of that, one of them became possessed with a demon, and he was cast out of the city. And he was living naked among the tombs. So when someone is far from God, they can become possessed. And that means that also that they remove themselves from society, regular society, and become not human, more like an animal. And so the Lord had compassion on this poor man who was possessed. He confronted them, and they said, "Who are you?" He said, "Legion." And that means that was many demons, not just one. So he cast them all out into the herd of pigs, and they lost control. The pigs lost control. And so this shows why did they say that? Because the gospel writers, the evangelists, Luke in this case, it's also in Matthew and Mark, the same story. The demons are so weak that they couldn't even control the pigs. And they went crazy and they just jumped off the side of the cliff, and this area was right by the Sea of Galilee. And they fell into the water, and pigs drowned in the water and died. And the guys who were taking care of the pigs, who were herding the pigs, were mad. They away all of my pork and ribs and pork chops and right off the cliff. It's gone. All my money that I make from that. So they were mad at Jesus. And they told him to go away. Get out of here. Could you imagine telling Jesus to come out? Instead of being, what a blessing, he's in our presence. So they had things a lot wrong in this area. But it shows that it's a symbol that when you get far from God in your life, none of you here, but others, when you get far from God, then you lose your humanity almost, because you become separated from God, and there's consequences for that. And we saw that with the demoniac today. It's a symbol of that. And we see it again in the parable of the prodigal son. He goes away and he wanted to eat the food of the pigs. He wanted to be like just one of the pigs. Same thing. So that is the gospel lesson today, but I wanted to talk about something because we have a very special saint today. Who is the special saint we commemorate today? Who knows?
Saint Demetrios.
Saint Demetrios, and he has special titles in the church. He is first a great martyr, right? Remember what a great martyr is? Someone who brings many people to the Orthodox faith. That's what makes them a great martyr. Not because they're greater than someone else, than other martyrs, but they also gave their life for God. That's what a martyr is. And in fact, the church of St. Demetrios in Thessalonica, has anyone gone to this church? It's magnificent. It's a basilica, very long, and it's actually built, this church is giant, and it's built over the actual spot that St. Demetrios was martyred. It was a well where they beheaded him. But they put him with lances first, and they killed him. And to this day, you can go into the basement of the church and you can see the actual spot where St. Demetrios was put to death and became a great martyr. Another title, what's another title they call it? The myrrh streamer. The myrrh streamer, because why? After he died, his body started to emit this wonderful smelling myrrh. And we see this in other places, in icons that emit myrrh, like from Panagia. But this is the saint's body. And it's been emitting myrrh for centuries, for a long, long time, and it hasn't stopped. And if you go to the church, they have his tomb in a clear box, and his tomb is like a gold casket. And then at the bottom, there's a spigot, and it's like water running, but it's myrrh coming out in the big pots. And I guess they have to go in after a while and change the pot with another pot because it's full. And it just keeps going. It doesn't stop. For centuries. And, no one thinks, oh, well, where does it come from? Oh, they got pumps underneath in the basement pumping it out. No. It's a miracle of God. And we have them, like I said, all over the place. So, St. Demetrios, also is another thing he's called is wonder worker. And who else says that? Like St. Nicholas and some of these other saints that always are doing miracles in the world. So the Lord has given him permission to go throughout the world and work wonders, healings, and sometimes he's scaring people into their bad things they're doing in their life to get back on the right track. He does a lot of things. He's a wonder worker. So, St. Demetrios is in, as we said, the city of Thessalonica. And as I mentioned, where he was martyred, this beautiful cathedral church is there. I think some of you have been there, right?
Yes.
Yeah, thought so. So, beautiful, beautiful church. Full of icons everywhere on the walls, by the way. So, God bless those who made that possible. And he was in the military, so that's why he's always dressed like a soldier. Tough, right? With a sword or spear or something. And sometimes they show him in the icon, he's on a horse and he's piercing the enemy on the ground. Other times we see just his body with his soldier uniform. But, of course, he lived during the time where they were persecuting Christians. The emperor was really against Christians at his time, and he was in the military, and it was the Emperor Maximian. And he kind of like had this really demonic type of hobby. He liked to watch the Christians be killed in a special way. He had a wrestling ring, like WWF almost like, right? You know what that is? Maybe some of you have never seen it before, but it's like a big thing with ropes and corners that are buckled. And then, they had a wrestling match, almost like, you know, what we have today. We watch the fighting, right, on TV. So they have fighting, the Christians would have to fight against these huge, giant, strong wrestlers, massive people. And they would pick them up and they'd throw them out of the wrestling ring. And outside the wrestling ring were these sharp spears, all lined up, all right next to each other. So when they threw the person off, they landed on these spears and pierced their whole body and died, killed them, and became martyrs. And so the time had come that he was found out, Demetrios was found out to be a Christian, so they arrested him. And his friend Nestorus was also with him. And they decided to send him, Nestor, to go fight this giant wrestler named Laius. And St. Demetrios he wasn't a priest, he was a soldier, but he was a follower of Christ. So he took his 3 fingers like a cross, and he crossed over Nestor. And he said, nothing is more powerful than the sign of the cross. So you don't worry, you will be victorious in the end. And so Nestor was, average-sized guy. Somehow he was given the strength by God to pick up this Laius and throw him over the spears instead. And he died impaled. And so they arrested Nestor. How dare he kill off one of the wrestlers? And of course, all the people in the crowd, remember, it was filled like, when you go to the stadium, it was filled with people because they wanted to watch the fight. And then they saw that he was making the sign of the cross, and he proclaimed Christ to the crowd. They all said, wait a second, he just did this to this giant man with the power of believing in Christ. Maybe I should start following Christ. Maybe I should see what Christ is about. So thousands of people after this event left and became Christian. This is why he was a great martyr. And St. Demetrios was able to convince many people to follow Christ. And then Demetrios was also, then they got mad at him because he was the one who crossed over Nestor's. And so we said, oh, we got to make him pay. So he was martyred. But of course, the Lord showed to the people, again, this great miracle of him streaming myrrh. And the myrrh would heal the people who came to him who were sick. And so all of these people, there are thousands of people in the city, came to the church to be catechized and baptized. So how great. See, the devil thinks, oh, well, we'll just kill off these martyrs and we'll have a victory because it shuts them up. But in fact, what happens is people have their own eyes and they see what happened. And they instead backfired, and now they came to Christ. So, 17 centuries later, as I mentioned, entombed in the city of Thessaloniki is the body of St. Demetrios, and next door to him is a little room with the casket of the relic of St. Nestor, his friend. So he also protects the city of Thessaloniki. We heard about today, we commemorate the great earthquake, and it struck the city of Constantinople, but the Thessaloniki was protected. And yes, they had some damage, but not the devastation like the city of Constantinople. The people saw that sign that the city was except for most buildings were damaged or destroyed, except for Hagia Sophia, didn't have any damage at all. And the people saw that as a sign that they were falling off the right path. And so they said, we better buckle up and take our faith more seriously. They were lazy because they lived in a city where there was 1,000 churches and chapels. So they had their pick of 1,000 different places to go to services. So some people didn't go, they just stayed home. And so now they realize, oh, I can just leave my house, and right there on my street is a church. I didn't have to go that far. And so it was laziness. It was laziness, no excuse. Now, of course, didn't need a car, they didn't have cars. But they needed a wake up, and God gave it to them. And St. Demetrios also woke up many who were not Christian to become Christian. So we thank St. Demetrios for always, many are named after him, many churches are named after him. And he is a great saint of our church who healed many, worked wonders, and helped many Christians throughout the ages. Let us commemorate St. Demetrios through the prayers of the great martyr St. Demetrios.